Let's get to that terror attack in Paris. Colonel Ralph Peters is with us. First off, Colonel, you say this is an attack on freedom of speech. Yes, it is. So what should we be doing here right now?
Well, the first thing we should do, if we had any guts at all, would be to republish the Charlie Hebdo cartoons about Mohammed on the front page of every major newspaper in the English-speaking world. New York Times, Manchester, the Guardian, the Times of London, Washington Post. But we won't. Because beyond all the tears and the fears we're hearing this morning, Stuart, the terrorists already won. Charlie Hebdo wasn't a vanguard. Charlie Hebdo was the last outpost of real freedom of speech. We self-censor. Charlie Hebdo, look, I've followed them for years. Their cartoons were often crude, humor was sophomoric, they were sometimes downright offensive, but they were brave. They were brave. And there's not a single magazine in the English-speaking world that has that kind of courage to take on Islamist fanaticism, to mock it, because Islamists, tyrants of all kinds, hate satire. And so what we saw today was censorship Islamist style. We saw the massacre of one of the last crude beacons of true press freedom.
Do you think that scenes like we're looking at right now from Paris, do you think those scenes will be repeated here? Is this terror coming here again?
Well, if the terrorists have their say, it certainly will. There's no question about it. They want to hit us. But it is a credit to the effectiveness of our security that they haven't been able to pull it off. And I'll tell you, this was a very impressive terrorist operation. This wasn't local yokels. This was clearly well planned. They were well armed. They were really cool and methodical about how they did it. The getaway was smooth. This was a military operation, no question about it. And the fact that they could pull that off in France. I mean, this wasn't the suicide bombing in Istanbul, Turkey yesterday. This wasn't Peshawar, Pakistan. This was the heart of Paris, right near Place de Bastille.
Yep.
And it's troubling. But yeah, they're going to try to hit us. But, you know, another funny thing this morning, funny in a dark, dark way, I heard no end of talking heads calling for, well, more surveillance to prevent this. They were the same talking heads who were criticizing the NSA for running surveillance programs that kept us safe. And, oh, by the way, those terrorists who slaughtered the staff of Charlie Hebdo, they're the people Senator Feinstein doesn't want to waterboard.
Okay. Colonel Peters, hold on, please, for just 1 second.
Yeah,
I've got a local angle, and I want to cover it locally. Mary Kistler's with us from the Wall Street Journal editorial board. New York City, surely a prime target, and yet security forces here in the city are at odds with the mayor. We even had a wounded New York City cop who didn't want the mayor to come and visit him in the hospital. That's what it's come to. What's going on here?
That's right. Well, you can't say that enough, Stuart. New York is target #1 here in America for terrorism. We know, this is public information, there has been at least one significant terror attack attempted against New York City every single year since 9/11.
Are we in a position to cope if the mayor is at odds with his security forces?
Well, we're not sure that the mayor understands the severity of the threat. Mayor Bill de Blasio, when he took office, didn't request the kind of top secret security clearance that he needs so that when the police commissioner gets intelligence, that police commissioner, now it's Bill Bratton, can share it with Mayor Bill de Blasio. So I'm not sure that the mayor takes the threat as seriously as he should, given the level, the severity of the threat here.
Thank you, Mary. Colonel Peters, back to you for a second. Why won't President Obama, why is he so reluctant to identify this as an Islamic terror attack?
Well, apart from the fact that he's a moral and physical coward, the fundamental problem is, like Mayor de Blasio and so many others on the American left, he romanticizes Islam. You see in Hollywood where, you know, oh, you can make fun of Christians and Jews, attack Israel all you want, but whoa, don't you say nothing bad about Mohammed, brother, no way. I mean, this idea that somehow Islam always has to have a special past, that Islamist fanatics, the left seems to suspect that in fact, they must have some justification for what they're doing. It's a deadly form of surrender, and by the way, all of this, what Mary just discussed, what we saw, again, in Paris today, what we've seen, in the timidity of our country, the unwillingness to really go after terrorists seriously, it's strategic decadence. When a civilization the finest civilization, for all its faults this world has ever produced, has lost the will to defend itself. You've got to do whatever it takes, and our leaders are not willing to do it.
Listen to this. Howard Dean, on another news channel earlier this morning, literally moments ago, he said, don't call it Muslim terrorism. He didn't even want to say it that. He won't use those words. Don't call it by that name. That's a retreat.
Well, it certainly is. And, words matter. Muslim, Islamist, Islamic. It's Islamist terror. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, we are not helping law-abiding, decent Muslim citizens by kowtowing to the extreme elements. When the White House, as President Bush did, as well as Obama, kowtowed to the likes of the Council on American Islamic Relations, the most radical, ugly voices that want to drive a wedge between Muslims and the rest of America, when we kowtow to them, when they're the prime guests at the White House, we are undercutting the millions of law-abiding, decent, hardworking Muslims in our country, and you see it around the world. We've got to be honest about the fight. The fight is not with all of Islam, but it is a death match fight to extermination with the Islamist fanatics who, by the way, are killing vastly more Muslims every day than they're killing Westerners.
Colonel Ralph Peters, a pleasure to have you with you on the show this morning. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Stuart.